Hey guys, Wax with Ironman 4x4, and today we're going to be installing a rear bumper on your Silverado 1500. It's RTB 087. Grab your tools, we'll get wrenching. If you're working in your garage on the floor, make sure your truck's in park, set your e-brake. If you're lifting the back of your truck to give you a little extra clearance and room to work, make sure you chock your front tires. If you're working on a lift like we are, make sure that the vehicle is properly placed on the lift. If you lift up really high, make sure you support it with jack stands, and always make sure your lift is set down on the locks. The easiest way to do this is to drop your spare tire out of the way. It'll give you much more room to work and unhook everything you need to unhook on this bumper and to get your new one installed. So to do that, grab your key. There's a little button on the side of it, and you're gonna need that actual physical key on the inside. Reach over here on the right-hand side, pop this door open, take that key, slide it in, turn it to the right, and that little plug pulls right out. So after you grab your jack toolkit from under your rear seat, you might want to just plug everything together, but you don't want to do that. This last piece here with this hook, that's specifically for using your jack. We don't need that. So just plug these two pieces here like that. That's the end you're looking for. And then we will feed this right into that tube, lefty-loosey, and we'll lower this thing down. All right, I got the truck up in the air. I'm gonna pull the license plate off first. So I'll grab like a #1 screwdriver, spin this off. Okay, and the best rule of thumb or rule of any fingers is you always wanna unhook electronics and hoses first, then start unbolting things. Because if you start unbolting things and something falls and you've missed a wire, that thing's gonna snap. We'll do that first. So I'm gonna start with my trailer harness plug, which is right back in here. And everybody does it a little bit differently, but Chevy GMC has this little white tab in the middle. Push that down. It's kind of like a two-part safety lock deal. And you can get see, that's what you're taking out there. You push that down, slide that back. And then you can push down on the tab in the back and slide it out. This wire harness here goes to this optic cable, which is a really cool option Chevy gives you if you want to have a camera on the trailer that you're towing. I do not like trying to unhook this right now because I can't see the top of the connector, and I definitely don't want to break a fiber optic connection. So the smarter trick is grab yourself a pick. We're going to take these two metal brackets that hold the trailer harness plug into the bumper. We'll unhook those, pull the whole plug out the back side of the truck. Then from the top down, we'll have a view on how to get that connector unhooked. So you unhook with your pick this middle tab right there. Once it pops loose, you can slide it back, and we will set that aside and do the other one. Okay, now we can push this plug through with those clips out. Go nice and easy. We've got some slack right here. Cool. Now I can see what I'm doing. So we'll pull this little tab up, and then once that is up and out of the way, you can push back. And that guy slides out like that. Also, I'm gonna take note and remember that when I'm facing the back of the truck, this plug goes on the right-hand port. We got one more wire connector that we need to unhook before we can pull this. I think it's a cross traffic monitor right there. Look, there's a bunch of stuff going on here. The best trick, and I do this all the time, take your phone, snap a photo of everything where it's laid out, because if you get all this pulled apart, you go to put it back together, you're like, crap, where the heck did all this stuff go? You have a picture to go back. The first little red clip, that's your safety. Push that back and out. Right underneath it is a black plastic tab. Push that tab down, then you can drop the connector out. And don't forget, this wire harness has another plug right here for the cross traffic sensor. So on the right-hand side, push down. If you wiggle that guy, you should slide out. Now we can switch over here. This is gonna be your rear parking sensors. You've got a red safety tab. Pull that one all the way back. And with the red safety pulled back, push down on that black tab and pop it right out. We'll unscrew these. They're both a 13 mil. And after you pull those 13s, make sure to take the clips off too, because those are sandwiched between this bracket and the bumper. So you need to remove those if you want your bumper off. Cool, I'll go set those aside. Just double check, make sure everything is unhooked before we pull this bumper skin off. Besides that, we're ready to start unbolting stuff. All right, we're on the rear right side of the truck. we've got this truss support bar. This is a 13 millimeter. So we're gonna take this out first and we'll do the same thing over on the other side. It's only like 6 bolts that hold this entire bumper on. You've got 2 on the left, 2 on the right. Those are basically your main supports that handle all your strength. You've got those 2 little 13s by the license plate that we pulled out, and that's about it. What I'm gonna do first though, to get access to these 2 19 millimeter nuts, I'm gonna grab a 21 deep dish socket, grab my impact, and then we're gonna undo this support truss here. It'll just give us extra clearance. Spin that back on, then I won't forget. Now we'll grab these 2 19s. I'm gonna take the bottom one off, and then I'm gonna leave the top one just a couple threads on. There's one. Cool, now we're gonna go do the same thing on the other side. We'll remove that truss support and spin those back. And you're gonna wanna use a deep dish 18 socket to get these 2 off. Everything's loose now. We can take this bumper shell off, and these factory bumpers are actually really light. So we gotta pull all of the electrical guts out of our OEM bumper shell. Grab yourself a body clip removal tool. We'll unhook all these little tree plugs here, get that loose, unclip all of our parking sensors, our license plate, lights, and also our blind spot monitoring brackets, which I'll start with first. So grab a 7 millimeter socket and we will spin these back and out. One there. All right, we'll push this red tab back out like that. That black tab pushes down, pulls right out. We'll set that over here. I also like to put my hardware back in just so I don't lose it. Cool, same thing on the other side. All right, let's pull the wire harness out. We've got these little tree plugs here. There we go. That one there. So you're just kind of working your way along. Use your tool, kind of rock it left and right. Be really careful with this because you're on this soft plastic bracket. So I'm actually gonna leave one of these in because this whole piece is gonna transfer over to the Ironman bumper. So I'll leave that there, skip. Get these pulled out. Same thing over on this side. There we go. We got parking sensors underneath here that we got to go attack next. So you can kind of get a hand underneath and push on that sensor from the outside of the bumper. And once you peel these plastic tabs back and wiggle it, push really hard, you get to pop out. We're going to do this one, the 2 inner ones, and the 2 outer ones are behind this plate here. So get a hand underneath, push on that sensor, use your thumb to rock the plastic tabs on each side back and out of the way. There you go. And now we can feed the harness just like that. Another trick, don't just rip the entire harness and take it out of your bumper. This needs to go back in the very specific way. Each one of these sensors needs to go back to their designated location. All right, we also got to take our license plate light harnesses out. So grab that same 7 mil socket. We've got 1 bolt here. Then you can just kind of rock this up and wiggle it out. Body clip removal tool. We'll go ahead and get that little clip out there. Same thing on the other side. We got to take our cross traffic monitor sensor out. Grab a clip and we're going to pop all these little mounting tabs out. Just kind of push in and down. Push on the bottom side. I laid our harness out in front of the bumper. I'm gonna leave it all in the same location. It's hard to get this mixed up because pretty much the links on your parking sensors, obviously this is the outside, that's the inside, inside, outside. Now we just gotta transfer all this electrical goodness into the Ironman bumper, so I'll get this guy out of here and into the garbage. Okay, we need to unhook all of our parking sensors from the factory wiring harness. We're gonna add these extensions so that they can stretch out to the new locations in our Ironman 4x4 bumper. So to do that, I always get really nervous. This is about the time you should get nervous too, because I do not wanna break these little plastic clips. So I'm gonna grab a pick, and on the front of this red clip, if you just kind of push up and back, it slides back. It doesn't slide back a ton, but enough. Once it slides back, then you can push down and it pops out. Okay, now we can grab the supplied extension, and this guy here, you're gonna flip that upside down like that, and that plugs right back in. Push the red tab forward. That's locked in place. And then that clips in just like that. Push the gray tab forward, locked in place. Do that on all 4 sensors, and then we will proceed to the next step. Okay, now we can get our parking sensors hooked up, and Ironman's done a couple trick things here. One, if you don't have parking sensors, you can pop these little plug caps in, and these little blanks, cap it off. There's 4 of those if you want to do that. You're gonna need 4 of these guys here, 4 of these spongy looking Sour Patch watermelons if they turned all gray. And you're gonna need 4 of these little circle foam pads. And we will show you in a tight, detailed camera B shot right now. All right, so we've got our OEM wire harness laid out. We've got our parking sensor extensions plugged in. Now we're gonna put that into the Ironman 4x4 rear bumper. We're gonna put our proximity bracket, clip that in. Now if these tabs aren't perfect, just kind of bend them to where you want them. And then you just press 1, 2, 3. Grab one of these back caps and one of these watermelon slices, and you're gonna take the adhesive off. It's got a little circle detent there, and a little pin poking out. You're gonna line that up like that. So do that for all 4 of your parking sensor caps. Cool. All right, so we got all 4 of those. So Ironman 4x4's already installed these parking sensor adapters, these plastic ones, and they come with a jam nut or a lock nut on the back. If for some reason they break, you have to replace it or pop it out. They are clocked and they have little detents in them. So when you put them back in, make sure they're aligned the proper way. Spin it down. Because they're plastic, just get them finger tight. You don't need to put a wrench on there and lock it down. It's gonna stay. We're gonna grab the correct sensor. We'll punch out the center foam here. Take this silicone outer ring off. That does not go on there. All right, we've got the backing off of that. We'll lay that right over the top. We're gonna take this. Our parking sensor is gonna drop right down like that. And then this cap here, it doesn't go like that in between. These 2 fingers wanna socket right into there. And then you press down, and those fingers have a barb which clips into place. And now that sensor is held firmly, perfectly in the correct position. Awesome, we're gonna do that on the other 3. All right, now we can get our blind spot monitors in. So take that M8 right there and a 10mm socket, and that hole is just a little tight on your factory bracket. I'm gonna spin it in. Cool, that's there. I'm gonna do the same thing on that hole down there. We are gonna grab brackets that have an R stamped on them. I'm gonna take this bracket in this orientation. I'm gonna lay it right here. I am going to take one of these M6s with a flat washer, and then down on the back side, we will put that back in. I'll grab my impact. There we go. Now we can flip it over, and this bracket is gonna hang just like that. I'll grab another flat washer and a split washer and a nut. We'll grab our other larger bracket, and I'll show you how to get that hung on the bumper. We'll take a bolt, a flat washer, and we're gonna feed this guy right up through there. That goes right over the top. Our smaller flat washers, split washer nut. Take another of these M6s. This is gonna sit right in here like that, and we'll bolt it together. But before we do, let's set it aside, because we're gonna add our plastic cap right here, and if we don't do it now, we will lose our access to it. Now these plastic caps, you can see there's been a provision cut out here, because that blind spot monitoring proximity sensor, it has to be able to look through, and it can look through plastic, but it has a really hard time going through big old steel plate. So we're gonna grab these real small little M6s and a 3mm Allen wrench, and we will set these up. You've got a real small flat washer, split washer. They feel a little tight because of the powder coat, but they thread in just fine. So you got 4 of them, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. These cover plates are plastic, so you don't want to crack them or break them. So once you get this tight, flatten out that split washer, and then you're done. Okay, now that we've got all this lined up, all of our brackets, our back plate in, we can take these M6s. We will go through there, flat washer, spring washer, and nut. This one here, and I can use a socket and an impact to spin that nut down. Okay, once you have it adjusted, I'm gonna have this bracket so it's nice and flat with my top deck. All right, and this is a 10 mil. Awesome. All right, let's get this plugged in. We'll grab this, get that pushed in. Cool, that is set. Now we can do the same thing on the other side. All right, let's take our factory trailer harness plug and we're gonna put it back in. So I'm gonna flip it around. It'll pop right back into there. And then those metal clips that we took out earlier. So the trick you can do is take a pair of pliers, get in here behind, you want a wide face plier, and bend that tab up. Do that on each side. Now, when we drop them in, they'll sit a little high and out, but that's okay because we can push them back in. And you're just trying to push that clip in until it hooks underneath that plastic ledge right there, that tooth. It just kind of catches it. There we go, that one's in. Get the other side. Okay, those clips are in, and then what you can do is take pliers or a hammer, and you can kind of tap the clips in. They'll bite into the powder coat, and that thing is locked in place. So now you're gonna wanna remove your spare tire access port. This was in the back of our stock bumper. We're gonna transfer that over to the Ironman bar. This is gonna crank that way inboard, and you can just rock it left, and then rock it right. And it's got those barbs, and they just click right into place. All right, now let's get your Ironman 4x4 lights, if you got them, with your bumper. Let's get them installed. Look, on the Bright Saber lights, before you put this bracket on, make sure you drop the mounting bolt in first. I always forget to do that. Let's try to remind you. Drop that bolt in first, then hook that bracket up. So we're gonna do 20-watt reds all across the back of this bad boy. And to do that, we will start with the inside position. We include this spacer for that inside position. Then it gives your lights a little bit of an offset and it matches the design cues of the bar. So I'm gonna fit that spacer first. And then I'm actually just gonna use a flat washer, throw a little Loctite, which I've already done on the nut. And I'm just gonna get that on there finger tight. Cool, that's nice and loose. Don't tighten it down yet. Take our second pod light, feed that up and through the outside position. I'll throw a flat washer on, and then my nut with some Loctite, spin that down. And you wanna leave a bit of a gap because we wanna make sure we don't forget to install these rock guards. These will help keep the back of our lights from getting totally trashed. This has a right on it, an R for right, the other one has an L for left. Hold it like this, and then we're gonna feed our pigtails through. One there, one there. There's a lot of wires for all the sensors, so we will get all this cleaned up here shortly with some zip ties. We wanna get all mocked up first. You want that spacer hanging on the bottom side of that bracket. That's why we left some slack there. We'll go ahead and get that pushed down, and now we can tighten it up. So grab yourself a 13mm wrench. Okay, as I'm tightening this outside position down, I'm gonna hold this light, and I like to cant the outer position out a little bit, and the inside position I like directly back. That one's done. The inside position here. Cool, that is tight. All right, same thing on the other side. Okay, now we're gonna throw our recovery points on. Make sure you've got the right one for the correct side. This is our rear right-hand side with the bumpers facing this way. The best way to tell is these two slots here. It's one slot in, two slots out. You're gonna take these large guys, drop a flat washer over it, and then just to hold it in place so it's not moving around, I'm gonna run that up there. We've got these little plastic washers, these square retainers, and these will help once we get it up off the bench and level. This will hold the bolt in place so we can set it on the truck. It's like a retainer clip, followed by another washer. And then I'm gonna spin that nut on there like that, just so it doesn't go anywhere. Now, this position back up here is really tight to get to. I hope you have small fingers or have a friend with small fingers. Okay, and I kind of slide that out of the way, and then I'll lower that. And the trick is you don't wanna let any of this stuff fall back down. I'll put one of those plastic retainers on it. I'll just cap it with a nut for now. And we've got one more bolt that's gonna go in here crossways. And so I like to start from the outside and feed it in because it's always easier to feed the open end of a wrench over a bolt head and then tighten the nut side. Just like that. And we'll cap it with a washer and a nut. Okay, cool. Let's grab a 19mm wrench and a 19mm socket. I've got a deep dish, and I'm gonna get that wrench over the bolt head. You don't wanna lock this down all the way. You wanna leave it a little loose. That way when we fit it to the truck, we have some adjustment. Once we get it on, we can always lock her down nice and tight. We'll do the same thing on the other side. All right, I've got our bumper laying horizontal again. All the bolts are hanging, ready to go on. You've got 2 and 2. They're gonna go here and here. But the first point of contact you want to be concerned with is the spare tire access tube right here. That has to line up perfectly with this tube. So grab a friend. We're each going to grab a side. We're going to make sure that that socket's over that little tube there first, and then we'll get our bolts right through there. We'll finger tighten a nut on, then we can let it hang. Then we can go through at our washers, tighten it all up. Bumpers hung loosely. We've got our washers and our nylocks just spun on finger tight. You don't want to just get this thing on and tighten it down because of all your wire management. You've got all these wire harnesses hanging here and gravity's pulling them down, which means if you're not careful, you'll pinch them and cut your wires. So go slow, get everything tucked up out of the way. All these wires and harnesses, you want to get them up on top of the hitch support, above these recovery points. Everything is going to want to go up and over. That's the safest place for it. Once you've done that, then you can start tightening everything down. This is the last bracket we need to attach. It's going to fit right up here. So we're going to pull this 21mm bolt from underneath the frame. We will fit this bracket back in here like this. Now our last 2 large 19mm bolts, we'll feed one right in there and get a washer and a nut on it. And then the last one's gonna go up top. Right now we can tighten up these 19s here. Tighten this 21 back down. We'll hand tighten those 19s. It might be worth double checking that the bumper's sitting nice and level first before you lock everything down. So just lock down a bolt or 2, get it level. As you go through and adjust it, make sure that it's sitting exactly how you want it. Now I'm just tightening everything down. All right, so we've got 2 main bolts, these 19s, those are tight. Bottom bracket has 2 19s, those are tight. The 21 of the frame's tight. The horizontal bolt right up here, that 19, that's tight for our recovery point. Everything's looking really good. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. Then all we gotta do is zip tie up some wires, plug everything back in, we can get the truck on the ground. And we'll get our parking sensor and blind spot monitor, main wire harness, pushed back in, and get that little red tab pushed back in. Cool, that's done. Then we'll just work our way kind of left to right. There we go, there's a proximity sensor. That gets just pushed back up and in. And you'll feel it click. We're done with that. This little connector here came out of there. There we go, up and in. Nice good positive click, and then that red safety tab on the back. I'm gonna move this wire harness up here. And then I'm gonna put the fiber optic plug back in there. Now our main trailer harness plug goes in, and that white clip gets pushed back on. Sweet. I'm gonna grab a couple zip ties, just make sure we secure these, and then we can get the truck on the ground and get the front of it all tidied up. All right, now we're gonna put this cover plate right here and our flip up license plate bracket. So grab yourself this M6 hardware with the encapsulated washers. We'll flip this up, feed that through. Get that in there finger tight. Same thing on the other side. Grab your Allen wrench. All right, now we just got to get our license plate put back on. Now, US plates, these rib nuts might be a little tight, so you might kind of wallow out your mounting holes on your license plate a little bit, just to get it to set in there perfect. But we'll spin this one on, put an Ironman plate on, super fancy. And now, you got a flip up bracket right there. If you don't want to utilize the flip up license plate bracket, you can also just throw your plate on here. In the US, you might have to wallow out your holes just a little bit. It's kind of a tight fit. Ironman 4x4 even supplied an accessories bracket right here on the bumper. So if you run airbags and want to put your Schrader valves here so you can fill it up, you can do that. You can run an Anderson plug here. There's a lot of great options for accessories. So we wanted you to have a place to mount those up. Then you don't have to drill right into the tube of your bumper. All right, I just got to reel in my spare tire. Get that tucked back where it goes. We are almost done. Bumpers on looks awesome. If you want one or need more info on it, go to Ironman4x4America.com.